elder advisors, don't go broke in a nursing home. Okay, Larry, I'm going to ask you something.
Thank you, John.
I heard you talking during the commercial break.
Yeah.
You said something about a family, and you said it's okay to feel guilty. So tell me the story.
Well, I even feel reluctant saying it because I'm not suggesting I'm in a position to absolve people of guilt or things like that. But so much when we're dealing with the kids who, as you were saying, at some point the roles kind of reverse. When the son is 60 and the parents are 85, suddenly the 60-year-old is now the adult in the room, and the 85 is the child because the roles kind of reverse. Well, that 60-year-old, of which I am now part of that, is I was dealing with a family the other day, and I kind of had to tell the son, I said, it's okay to feel guilty. You know, I know, but you know, you're not able to do the care at home that you've been trying to do for your parents. They haven't been able to take a vacation in 2 years. They've modified their home and stuff like that. And I said, you've done everything you can to avoid this from happening. So I know it does no good to tell that person it's okay to, you know, feel guilty, but it's still very stressful for families. So, you know, we kind of help with the kitchen table stuff on the financial, and certainly Lindsay on the clinical side.
And I think, so I did admissions in nursing facilities. So I worked 4 nursing facilities for 15 years before I came to work with Larry. And I can honestly say this, Kentucky, and I can say this, and it's the most truthful thing. It's never as bad. It's never in my career has ever been as bad, that transition, as the family or even the client or the patient thinks it's going to be. And it's a lot of times we see their quality of life, the client's quality of life, goes up when they're getting 3 hot meals a day, 24/7 access to a call button for someone to come in and help them. They're getting activities. They're finally with people in a group of folks their own age, reminiscing about things that had happened that they can relate to that I certainly can't because I wasn't around. Larry, probably a little bit. Yeah. But it's never as bad as it's never as bad. It is never as bad.
She just rubbed your nose in that.
As you think it's going to be.
Share the story that Lisa gave us today about how mom had a job.
Oh, yeah.
This is a cute story about what she's talking about.
Yeah, so we have a client who is an assisted living community, and she was an accountant, so super into numbers. So she does her Sudoku puzzles, and that's her job. I'm working. She gets her work done. And
she has her little money they give her.
And there's a community, they play bingo, so she gets $1, and she goes to the dollar store, the store there in the community.
Can't wait to go shop.
And mom's quality of life is so high. Her quality, she's happy, she's fulfilled. Yeah. And that's, you know, that's the rule. That's the rule. That's the norm, not the exception.
Yeah, you want them to enjoy their life. That's what it's all about.
And every adult child thinks, oh no, she's going to do miserable, or dad can't do it, or
not
they can't
always.
stand it. And it's not. In my career, I cannot remember a time that it was as bad as the family and the client thought it was going to be.
Okay, this is good news. I want to ask you something, Steve. A lot of times people think, okay, attorney, so there's no emotions involved or no compassion involved. With you, there is, because you've been through this experience, and you know, and I think that's what's great about elder advisors from top to bottom. Everybody understands this is a tough time for the family. For you to sometimes relay, hey, here's what we have to do, and they're not understanding it because they're emotionally involved. That's when elder advisors can help you, because you're going to make the decisions that are best for the client.
I would have given anything to have had these guys in my corner, I don't know, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it was now, with my brother Tom. And he passed December 12th, 2012. That's the day he passed. We get close, you know, every year, the holidays come up. I'm always thinking about it. I've got some buy-in when it comes to this. This is a passion. It's not a job, it's a passion. Because these families need all the help that they can get. I know they're struggling because I've been through it. This was back when I was a litigator. I didn't do this type of work. I was in court doing jury trials and depositions and all those kind of things. And when I went through this and I asked the folks at the nursing home, the Medicaid caseworkers, the people who I thought should know better, how do we save my brother's assets? They all said, no, he's got to go broke in the nursing home. And that's the advice I gave. And it was completely wrong. If I could jump back in time with what I know now, I would save my brother's house. I would save the contents of his house, the car, and if not all of his bank accounts, at least half of them. And I would have passed those 2 things on to Christina and Brittany, his 2 little girls. And instead, on my advice, he lost everything.
So being proactive, pre-planning, as you say, Larry, that's correct. Talk about that, about the importance of pre-planning, because what the advantages of, instead of, don't get me wrong, crisis, they can help you if you're in the middle of a crisis, but pre-planning, as Steve just referred to, important.
Well, and I'll come back to the call I had this morning. If mother, who's now in a hospital trying to get her transition to rehab, if mother had done some pre-planning 10 years ago of any level of an estate plan, typically part of that's going to be a financial power of attorney. Because these financial institutions, they want to do the right thing for the client and stuff, and if you don't have your I's dotted and T's crossed, they're not talking to the kids, which means there's no access to that money, and if it's just kind of hanging there in a perpetual state of nothing moving, the bills are going to be moving every month, and no one, who's in charge of the ship?
Well, and
it's terrible.
And it's important even for husband and wife, because I think there's a misconception out there that, if I'm a wife and I've been married to my husband for 40 years, I can call up his IRA plan if he's in a nursing home or hits his head or whatever, and they'll give me information. That is absolutely not true. So it's important to have power of attorney for husband and wife as well, because there's all kinds of instances without that really special tool. Sometimes the road's impossible.
Yeah, I do. I tell people that all the time. I say, look, if you ran into me on the street and said, Steve, I got 25 seconds. Tell me what the absolute minimum I need for an estate plan. Power of attorney. I don't care that you and your spouse have been married for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. Doesn't matter, because the law doesn't care. The banks don't care. The insurance companies don't care. The financial institutions don't care. You need to have power of attorney for one another, and that's proactive. But I also want the people out there to know that if we are in a crisis and mom and dad did not do that proactive planning, call us. There are still things we can do. It may be, we may have some more hurdles we need to jump through. We can still get there. But remember, too, as you're getting close to the seasons and the holidays, jump in, be proactive. Don't let your kids sit there and talk to you over the holidays. Mom, Dad, what have you done? You don't want to turn to them and say nothing. And you will. I'm telling you, there's plenty of people out there that are going to get those questions.
Right. I think that's what really to raise awareness about the importance of, because as you said, we're all going to go through it. So Larry, for those who, every situation is different. For someone who wants a one-on-one with you to find out, okay, what do I do here? Because there's so much to know that we just touched upon a few things.
Right. And,
what do they need to do?
A long journey begins with its first step. They can go to the website, elderadvisors.com, or to answer all of life's questions, they can go to 855-LARRY-55. It will answer all of life's questions and trials and tribulations for you. But,
that is not a guarantee that we will answer all of life's questions.
Quite a few.
Be advised.
No dating advice or anything like that.
No dating advice. Yeah, no calls for that.
But the biggest hurdle is forget about the barbershop law, because all this stuff people are told out in the world is typically wrong. It's well-intentioned, from friends and family, but they've got everything butchered up. They've got the stuff mixed up. And all it does is a lot of times get them so distressed and so distraught that they don't even call. They don't even reach out because they believe there's nothing can be done. And so much can be done, Kentuckiana. Pick up the phone.
Yeah.
elderadvisors.com. We got you.
Yeah, and during this holiday season, you may notice that, mom and dad are slipping. Maybe they're telling the same stories, or they forgot something that happened just a few weeks ago, and you go, okay, that is just a little indicator, red flag, time to call Elder Advisors. Yeah. All right. Appreciate all of you. And I hope I see you before Thanksgiving. If not, I expect a doggy bag from you.
Gobble.
I expect a doggy
I
bag.
think we're back on Monday.
We'll be back on Monday.
Okay, good. Then good. I get to see you on Monday. All
I'll
right.
look better on Monday.
That's impossible.
Oh, stop it. You're so pretty.
Okay, Elder Advisors. Don't go broke in a nursing home. You know the slogan.
I may not be back on Monday. I don't know.
All right, we'll take a little break here, and then it is Feel Good Friday. It's also Veterans Day. We'll have a little chat with Don G about what's coming up at 2 o'clock on Wave Country next on Wave Listens.